So I've just been doing some troubleshooting with my Model 9577S that I've got here on the bench. It's got a really annoying feature, or issue I should say, where it's locking up, or the interface, graphical user interface is locking up in Windows 95, but the system remains operational in the background. I've got a network card in there at the moment, and I can actually ping the machine when it's in the locked up state. I've noticed various other background tasks operating according to logs as well. So it's just the user interface that's locking up, and it can be anywhere from 15 minutes to 1 hour, depending on what CPU is in the system. So I'm thinking it might actually be an issue around the CPU area. This is the Lacuna motherboard, or planar as IBM calls it. And there's a known issue with those, with a capacitor that leaks around the VGA DAC at the rear of the machine, and I think there might be some corrosion around there. So I'm going to take this board out again and just double check everything around that area, because other than that, I'm running out of ideas. I have tried absolutely everything. As mentioned, multiple CPUs. I have tried different memory, one or more sticks in there, doesn't matter. Nothing makes any difference, including having nothing in the expansion base. It still just locks up. So I think there's something hardware going on. I have changed SCSI cards as well. I've currently got a Spock Prime in there, and that didn't make any difference. But just to be sure, I built this diagnostic adapter to speak to the Spock's serial terminal while it was in the crashed state, just to make sure it wasn't the SCSI card that was locking up, and unfortunately it's not. The thing is still operational. It's the computer that's crashing. I'll show you how this works anyway. So that is currently connected to the diagnostic header on the Spock card, and you want to have the system in a state where it's not going to try and access the hard drive, because going into the serial console will block access to the hard drive. So just have it in a state like in the reference disk menu or at the command prompt, and don't try to access the hard drive while you're in the console. So unfortunately there's no, not that I'm aware of, no way of monitoring the operation of the device while it's reading and writing from the hard drive. So it's, yeah, kind of limited. So now that I've got it in that status, the way to access it with this made device, my card, I cannot get into the console if I initiate it while this 74F04 has power. I have to have the power disconnected from the 74F04 when I push this button. And what this button is doing is shorting the TX and RX lines together. That's how you initiate console mode on this device. And I'm just using Teraterm, and these are the port settings here. And yes, I am using a CH340 serial adapter to USB that actually has, what you need to use is TTL. So it's a CH340 USB to TTL serial adapter. You could probably use one of those Max chips that has TTL on one side and RS232 on the other side if you wanted to do that, but this works for me and I've got it, and it's Windows 11 compatible. Yes, I run Windows 11 force installed on my Intel Mac because I wasn't ready to throw it away. So let's get this started. So my terminal is ready. I'm going to initiate the console connection and connect the power. This is easier said than done when I'm doing it with one hand. I might just do this off camera. Okay, so the power is now connected, and I should, there you go, press enter, and I have got the console operating. What you can do is read and write to various memory locations and get some information off it that isn't really of any use. These Corbel and Spicoli, I suspect IBM, the website Capital, whatever the hell it's called, Ardent Tool of Capitalism suspects they may be referring to the large ASICs on that SPOC Prime card, but nobody knows at this point in time. If you want to dump to the screen, memory locations, well, it's just D for dump, and then the memory location. This memory location here is the start of the ROM address for the PS2 microcode. It's the only one that shows anything mildly interesting, and if you want to continue, you just hit D again, and it will continue reading out the rest of that. And yeah, it's only 1200 baud, so it's kind of slow. But anyway, this is just showing that this card's not locked up, and this is pretty much what I was doing when the machine was in the crash state, just to see if this card was responsible for the crash, but I knew it wasn't because the previous SCSI card was doing the same thing. There's something wrong with this motherboard, unfortunately, and it's, yeah, definitely the motherboard. There's nothing else it can be. I've ruled everything else out. And so we're finished in the console, and we just want to let the card take control of the SCSI interface again. We just do quit, Q for quit, and then you can access the hard drive again and continue using that computer. If you're interested in any of this, the instructions for building the adapter and all of these known commands for this particular card are on the Ardent Tool of Capitalism. That's where I got this info from to make this. And out of interest, this is the revision levels on this board. I have loaded the latest BIOS, but yeah, nothing has made any difference. It's quite surprising to see that a 486 computer was supported all the way up until 1998, but yeah, unfortunately it didn't fix my problem. So I'm going to take this board out and have a close look at it under the microscope, particularly around that area at the rear, where a capacitor has leaked and corroded the board. I had a feeling I'd be revisiting this. Yeah, the time has come. It's really frustrating. So if I can't save this board, well, I've got a spare Bermuda and riser I can put in this case. It would be sad, but yeah, can't save them all, unfortunately. I will show you what the crash looks like in a moment. So if you've never seen the Lacuna motherboard, this is what it looks like. This is one of the last 486 machines. It has onboard S3 video, and that is attached via the VESA local bus interface. Yes, that is right. Kind of weird. It is a micro-channel machine, but yes, VLB video. I have recapped this with solid polymer capacitors, so they don't look as per it would have left the factory. This frame is kind of broken, so I'm going to be checking this QFP at the first port of call. I'm going to look at that under the microscope, but around this area here, this is where a capacitor leaked. I can't remember if it was, I think it might have been C67. It actually doesn't look that bad now that I see it again, but I have cleaned this, so anyway, I'm going to look at it under the microscope. And that's a DAC, so surely that's not going to cause the machine to lock up. That would cause video corruption. It's almost like an IRQ is being held or something like that. So maybe it is this. I assume this is like a system control circuit. This stuff around here is presumably a memory controller and something to do with the MCA bus. I haven't looked, I'm just guessing. I don't ever have any memory errors. That all tests fine no matter what sims I put in there, so I don't think it's memory related. I'm suspecting this thing here, and probably it's physical damage. And yeah, I am missing my level 2 cache module, unfortunately, and I'll probably never find one unless someone can find one from their collection. Anyway, enough waffling. I will look at this under the microscope. And if you're wondering what the hell this is, that is a proprietary slot, big surprise, which can either be used for expanding the onboard video memory to 2 megabytes, or alternatively, there was some kind of streaming media adapter, which I think did video compression and decompression for playing full screen video. That'd be rare as rocking horse manure, I'm sure. I don't think it's ever been photographed. So if you have one, you probably need to talk about it some more rather than just keeping it a secret from the rest of us. And even the video memory upgrade. I'd love to get one day. It's just not going to happen though. And these also had the ability to have a external voltage regulator module, optional of course, to support the 3-volt CPUs. That has been reverse engineered and there's a circuit available if you want to make your own, but it's kind of pointless when you can just get an overdrive processor or such with a voltage regulator on board. This is the original CPU this came with. I put this back in here just to see if that's what the issue was, because I had a Pentium overdrive, which is a known issue on these, because that socket's not quite pinned correctly because they changed the spec after this board was already on the market. Didn't make a difference, still locks up. So it locks up with this, it locks up with a Pentium overdrive and my homemade AMD 586 133 with an interposer that I made myself. So yeah, it's not the CPU. There's something going on with this board. So I could not see anything wrong with that board. I've checked every single QFP on there, including the large blue one. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I cannot see any obvious issues whatsoever. There's minor corrosion around where that capacitor leaked around the DAC, but nothing that really rings alarm bells. And this is a classic example of what it does. Just after several minutes in Windows, it just freezes. Now, it's not frozen to the point that the mouse doesn't work, but this is what it always does. It just locks up and the mouse still moves. Now, out of interest, this is on the network, this machine, and I can actually ping it when it's in this state. So the CPU is still executing code, still doing things behind this frozen screen. I don't know what the hell is going on. Is this a software issue? Is this just a general incompatibility with Windows 95C? I think what I'm going to do now is probably remove the network card, because there are no Windows drivers for that network card. It's using a DOS driver. I'm wondering if that's got something to do with it. So I'm just going to remove it. At least I can predictably make it crash every single time with this Sim Tower game. If I don't play the Sim Tower game, it's file transfers and things like that. Eventually, it just locks up. It's probably down to the number of minutes the machine's turned on. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to remove that network card and see what happens now. And in this frozen state, the clock doesn't even update. So the screen is utterly frozen. It's just the mouse that's moving around. So let's see what happens with no network card. Is that the problem? Well, I can say categorically it's not the network card, which is good because these are new old stock. Didn't make any difference. I couldn't even start the game this time before it locked up. So it's completely frozen and I didn't even get to do anything. So it's locking up even worse now. Minor breakthrough with the PS2. I went ahead and removed the display drivers, so it's running in horrible standard VGA mode with 16 colors. And I have left it unattended for quite some time and it has not locked up. So it's going to be the display section on the motherboard, or it's simply the driver crashing in Windows 95C. What I'm going to do now, because I'm not going to tolerate 16 colors because it's just garbage. I'm going to get rid of Windows 95C and put Windows 95B on there without the USB supplement. So the first Windows 95B, it still supports FAT32, so I can keep my large disks as is without dropping back to FAT16 and 2 GB partitions. Yeah, it's a bit of labor involved in doing that, but I got to get this thing working because this is driving me nuts. At least it's not some kind of catastrophic board failure. I could live, I guess, with losing Windows 95, maybe just running Windows 3.1. I mean, this is pretty much the only game I play in Windows anyway. And this was actually written for Windows 3.1, so it might actually work fine in that with the very basic configuration of Windows 3.1. But I like to have my networking support and transferring files to and from via FTP. That's all very convenient rather than using removable media. I can still do that in DOS. I have MTCP set up on my other machines, but I haven't tried that with a PS2 microchannel network card. I don't even know if that's possible. It probably is, I just haven't tried it. So the next time you see me, or it will be running Windows 95B, and then we will find out if the goddamn thing stops locking up with the VGA driver installed. So here we are, now running Windows 95B. And I have not installed the video card drivers or onboard video drivers yet. That's what I'm about to do now. So I've got the network installed. I've got everything else I like to use on this machine installed, and it's okay so far. That, by the way, is the adapter to use a Gotek or equivalent, or even an old-fashioned floppy drive on MediaSense PS2s. That kit, or the PCB, you can buy on PCBWay and put it together yourself, the chip and whatnot. I got myself. And it works perfectly, no errors. Obviously you get the error initially when you start up because it detects it as a 1.44. There's no way to make it work as a 2.88, but who cares really? It does the job. So I just create disk images with my drivers and whatnot. I've now saved them on one of my drives, so I don't actually need this anymore. I'm going to go back to the floppy drive. But yes, now the big test. Let's see if I can actually use the VGA drivers without it locking up. You'll notice it says Pentium there. That's a Pentium overdrive. It is a socket 3 machine, and it's not that. I've actually tried the original DX266 from IBM that this thing came with, and it was locking up with that as well. So it's not the processor that's causing it. I've tried, as mentioned, the 586-133 in there as well, and didn't make any difference. Everything just locks up when that VGA driver is installed. And yeah, it's actually rock solid even with the Pentium, which isn't quite supported in this machine because the socket's not wired correctly. You're supposed to have an interposer board, but I don't have the level 2 cache module anyway, so it's okay for the time being. Yeah, so let's try it and see what happens. Well, I can categorically say there is a hardware fault with the onboard VLB S3 video. Either bad memory or it's the chip itself. I don't think it would be memory because surely that would identify itself as image corruption on the screen, and I just don't get that. What I do have is a machine with a freezing screen and a moving around mouse. So maybe it's the chip itself, or maybe there's a corroded via that's making intermittent connection, but I just cannot use that onboard video. Anytime I try to install the drivers and run it in any mode other than 16 color mode, the machine pretty much instantly locks up, and this is with Windows 95B. Now, how have I got around this? Well, I've done the unfortunate thing of installing an XGA2 card. and that's rock solid. Obviously that doesn't have the performance of the onboard VLB, but at least the machine is now usable. It's solid and it's not crashing anymore. For anyone else that wants to use the XGA2 card on a Lacuna motherboard with the onboard VLB, just like the onboard VLB, you need to install that DOS utility, that, what is it called? DMQS. The DMQS software is mandatory to install, even with Windows 95 on this machine. It just will not work without that. Windows 95 will not load the driver properly. It will not start the graphics card in anything other than 16 colors and 640 by 480. As soon as you load that DMQS software specifically for the XGA2 card, it all works perfectly. So yeah, just like the original video on board with Windows 95, it's mandatory. I don't know what to do. I'm going to have to ask some questions. Is this possible to fix? Is this just a general incompatibility issue? I doubt it, because I'm not seeing anyone else talking about this. I think my chip, my S3 chip, is simply screwed. Now, changing a QFP chip is not outside my skill set. I can do that quite easily. But I want some opinions from the gurus on the PS2 group. I'll see what they think before I do anything so drastic. So that's it for now. I have a solution. It's not an ideal one, but it works. That's the later version XGA2 card in there. It's the one with the ceramic heat spreader on that IC instead of the aluminium heatsink. I do have the extender. I'll fit that on there. I just didn't put it on there because it wasn't fit, because I was using this in my homemade plastic PS2. That project's pretty much cancelled now, so I can use this card in this machine for the time being. So what is the benefit of using this machine now? Well, yes, I have 64 megabytes of memory. The Bermuda is limited to 32. It can have level 2 cache, but I don't have any. And it does have onboard IDE. So it's still a good machine. It just now doesn't have the onboard VLB video. So video performance is a bit down, but a bit worse performance is better than not working at all. So this is the final configuration. I've lowered the SCSI card to the lowest position. I checked that the onboard RAM is not getting too hot, so that's okay like that. And I've got the network card in the middle and the XGA2 card up the top. I've got this reproduction Sound Blaster MCV card. I'm not actually going to fit that because I don't like it, to be honest. I have got a Chip Chat reproduction on the way, which is an ESS 1688 based card, which is going to blow it out of the water. 16-bit stereo sound compared to 8-bit mono 22 kilohertz. Bit of an upgrade, and plus better DOS game compatibility. So hopefully I can now put this case back on. Surprisingly, it hasn't broken any further, and hopefully I don't have to open it for a while, at least until my sound card arrives. There is, by the way, an updated XGA2 driver made by the enthusiast community, which supports a wider range of display modes. Currently, at 800 by 600, I only have 256 colors, but I don't care. It works. That's the main thing. The updated driver does give you higher color in 800 by 600, but it does not play nicely with this LCD monitor, and it looks utterly terrible, so I'm not going to use it. I'm just using the original XGA driver, which I believe is actually XGA1. It doesn't take full advantage of the XGA2 card's extended capabilities, but again, I don't care. It's stable and it's working, and that's what I want right now, because I'm sick of playing with this thing. One thing interesting I noticed, I think I can still use the onboard video for like DOS games. It seems whichever has the monitor plugged into it, either the external GPU, although that terminology is not quite correct, the external video card or the onboard video card, whichever one has the monitor plugged in, is the one that is the primary display when you turn the machine on. Out of interest, it looks like you could have multiple XGA2 cards installed, because there's options in the reference media to give a unique identifier for each one of them. So in theory, you could, if you had enough expansion ports, have like 6 of these things connected. You'd have to have some serious horsepower as far as the computer is concerned to be able to do that. But it's possible nonetheless. Did I get F1 in time? No, I did not. So I'm not going to show you. You'll have to take my word for it. But anyway, that's it for now. More fun later when my sound card arrives. I was getting kind of sick of this issue because it's just consuming all of my time. I get obsessed with things and I must fix them. I must have an answer. I can't just walk away. So I've spent an entire day messing around with this thing, and now I've got a solution where it is stable. There you go. That's my lame selection of... Well, there you go. It's only at 640 by 480. I didn't even have it at 800 by 600. Now I do. 256 colors. Kind of lame. I don't know why it looks like that. I think this thing does need to restart. It's a bit flaky, these XGA2 cards. But that will look normal now, I'm sure. What the hell, since I'm restarting anyway, I will show you what I'm talking about in the reference mode. These have a convenience partition, so I do not need to have the reference disk. Once you've set that up correctly, I can just go in and change whatever I like, as long as the SCSI card isn't missing, obviously, because then it wouldn't be able to read the convenience partition. Or if you move the SCSI card to another slot, you need the reference disk to set it up initially. I'm not going to change the configuration, I will just show you. So we've got this video I/O address here. This is where you give a unique identifier to however many cards you've got installed. So yeah, there was like 7 selections there. So wow. On some kind of server machine, you might be able to have 8 of these cards, 0 through to 7. How absurd. But I don't know that anyone ever did that, but it's nice to know it's possible. Anyway, I am really finished now. Although let's make sure that Windows actually looks okay now, because I have been messing around with drivers again. I did not change anything, so I don't need to save anything. Yeah, so 800 by 600 looks fine now. Moral of the story, stop screwing around with something when it starts working. Just leave it alone. Don't fix what ain't broken. But for now, I'm happy with this machine. And it's even running with my Pentium overdrive in there, and it hasn't locked up since... Yeah, I don't have a sound card. It has not locked up since I've put the XGA2 card in there, so there's clearly something wrong with that onboard video. Unless it's an incompatibility issue with Windows 95, but I doubt it, because people are running these machines with Windows 95 on it, so I'm not sure what to say about that. Anyway, it's definitely the end of the video now.